Hello, my name is Trish Pewitt, and I wanted to be a part of the team and actually making as part of the wiki. I had posted the zoom.us URL in here around noon, and I waited and waited and waited, and no one had joined that zoom.us meeting. At around 12:30 is actually when I did my own meeting, because unfortunately there was no one there, and I still want to get credit for doing this. And I made the video, but it was just audio. It was no like screen sharing. So when I send the email to you, you'll actually be receiving that just to show that I actually did do everything on the zoom.us. But I wanted to actually physically show what I would actually be doing on the screencast-o-matic. So you're going to be receiving two, and that just explains why you're receiving two. So I can physically show you what I'm actually doing. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and start my lesson. So my lesson is actually based on opposite angles of a parallelogram. So opposite angles of a parallelogram, we first need to know what parallelograms are and what our objective is. So the objective today is I will prove that the opposite angles are congruent in a parallelogram. So to give you a visual, you might think to yourself, well, what exactly is a parallelogram? So again, this is called a parallelogram. So class, can you guys say parallelogram, please? Very good. So a parallelogram is a quadrilateral with two pairs of opposite sides. Oops, move that out of the way. There we go. With two pairs of opposite sides that are parallel and congruent to one another. So that would mean your side AB is parallel to CD because they are opposite. That also means your side CA is parallel to its opposite side DB. So aside from being parallel, they're also congruent. So that means they're the exact same measure compared to one another. Okay? So I'm going to give you some time right now to please go ahead and add that into your notes. Okay, so we now know that the opposite sides are parallel and congruent to one another, but there's actually more to parallelograms than that. So when it comes to a parallelogram, if a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, the two pairs of opposite angles are congruent to one another. So in other words, angle A is congruent to angle C, so angle A is congruent to angle C, and angle B is congruent to angle D. Angle B is congruent to angle D. So I'm going to give you some time right now to please add that into your notes. Okay, so I can tell this to you, but you probably want to see this in action. You might say to yourself, well, how do you know that they are congruent to one another? Well, that's where GeoGebra comes in. So GeoGebra is... No, there's GeoGebra. GeoGebra is a program that we're going to be using every single day. We're going to be using GeoGebra at the very beginning of class, and then towards the middle of the class, we're actually going to be using the PowerPoint lesson. So I'm going to have you guys go ahead and log on to geogebra.org/geometry. So go ahead and do that now. Okay. So once you're into geogebra.org/geometry, what we're going to do now is we're physically going to be making a parallelogram. So in order to do that, there's all these tools that you can access on GeoGebra, and I'm just going to go ahead and start with a simple point. So I have my point A that I just simply clicked right here. So I want to make a line now for my parallelogram. So to make one of those sides, you can go ahead and click on your point A, and you can go ahead and click anywhere. And if you see you're just simply levitating above, and you can just click to make your point B. So as I'm doing these steps, I'm going to kind of hesitate within the steps so you can directly model what I was just doing. So I showed you the first step right now, which is A to B, and I'm pausing right now for you guys to make a line for AB. Okay? So now what we need to do is we need to make the parallel side. So to make the parallel side, I'm going to go ahead and go back to my basic tools. So do that now. Okay. And now I need to make a line that's parallel and going through my point C. So I need to now use my parallel tool. So underneath construct, there should be parallel right here. So you're going to click on the point and the line. So go ahead and do that now. Okay, so just to kind of show you they are parallel, if you click using your little basic tool, the little mouse key, click and drag any of those points, you should see that it doesn't matter where you move your point C or where you move your line. Get rid of your point C. These two lines are never intersected. Therefore, no, they are parallel to one another. So the next thing I need to do is to make another side. So I have 2 out of the 4 sides, and those 2 are parallel. So that'd mean that now I need to make another line going through AC. So I have my point A, my point C, and let's just make sure they were intersecting. Good, so I can move those anywhere, and I can see those 2 points they've made a parallel, or they made a line that's definitely going through them. So now I need to make a side that's going to be parallel to AC going through B. So same process, you want to make a parallel side. So parallel to point B inside AC. So I'm going to give you some time to catch up. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to have a 4th point. So I have my point A, my point B, point C, and nothing. So to make a point D, you're going to go to the points tools. So the points tools are right here, and you want to go to intersect. So in other words, you're making an intersection point for your for this line and that line. So if you hover over to right here, it's going to create the intersection point, which is your point B. And just to show it did correctly intersect, you want to use your basic tools again to click and drag. So I'm going to give you some time right now to get to this point. Okay, so what we need to do next is we need to actually construct the angle measures. So, because I'm looking at opposite angles being congruent. So, let's focus on let's do angle C and angle B first. So, if I want to make an angle, and measure it, that means you have to go to the measuring tool and click the very first one. So when you measure the angle, you do have to go in a certain order. You have to make sure that your point C, or the angle you're trying to find the opposite angle for, is the middle point when you're making your connections. So in other words, if I want to measure angle C, I need to go ahead and click ACD or DCA in that order. So if I click ACD, I have an angle that's measured there. And then I want the measure of angle B. So I can go ABD or DBA. Let's do ABD. So I can kind of see those, but I need to actually see them a little bit better. So I'm going to give you some time right now to catch up to me. Okay, so I'm going to move these angles out of the way. I need to be able to see them a little bit better. So if you click the little move icon, you can click and drag the angle so it's out of your way so you can see it better. And that's kind of funny. Those two are the same. Well, let's go ahead and measure angle A and angle B. So, same thing. You need to make sure that angle A is basically the middle point when you're trying to find the angle, and angle D is the middle point when you're trying to find the angle. So let's measure now. C, A, B, and C, D, B. So I'm going to give you some time right now to catch up to me. Okay, so there's my 92 degrees, there's my 92. Let's just double check. What if I click and drag any of those points away from one another? So it looks like no matter which way I drag them, I can't move point because of the intersection point. Opposite angles are definitely congruent. So that's why I love GeoGebra, because it's not just me simply telling you, I'm actually proving to you. So you're actually going to be making 2 column proofs using GeoGebra, and this is just a simple get to know GeoGebra type of thing that we're doing right now. So I want to at least model one more example with you, and you guys try an example so I can check for your understanding. Okay, so to give you an idea, so let's go ahead and look at a very basic example here. So I've just proved to you, and you've actually proven with me, that opposite angles of a parallelogram are congruent. So if I know opposite angles of a parallelogram are congruent, and I'm given that these are parallelograms, that means 25 degrees is the same as angle x, because they are opposite angles. Therefore, x is equal to 25 degrees. So now I need to find the measure of angle y. So I know opposite angles are congruent, but these are actually what's called consecutive interior. Can you say consecutive interior angles, please? Very good. So consecutive interior angles are two angles that are together within your parallelogram that have a sum of 180 degrees. So if they have a sum of 180, that means that y would be equal to 180 degrees minus 25 degrees. Again, if they have a sum of 180 degrees, if this much is 25, then that's going to tell me what the rest is if I subtract. So if I subtract 180 and 25, I get 155 degrees. So that means y is 55 degrees. So this is going to be a you-do example. So I would like you to do the following example now, please. Okay? So if you had done it correctly, angle x is going to be 61 degrees. How many of you guys got 61 degrees? Very good. Okay, so angle y is going to be 180 minus 61 degrees, which is equal to 119 degrees. So how many of you got 119 degrees for angle y? Very good. And that's my lesson for today.